Hi, and welcome to the first edition. My name is Dwayne. Usually I'm joined by Pam. Unfortunately, Pam is not with us today, so today I'm just flying solo. Pam is the true brains of the organization, not me, as you'll find out in this video. Once you get to know her, I know you're going to love her just as much as I do. So, for the first video, we're going to the most northern stop of the Underground Railroad. Yeah, it's right in Simcoe County. It's on Line 3 and Oldbury Road. It's the old Oro, I do believe it's, I can't even say it. It's the old Oro Church. It was founded by the Black Loyalists who fought in the War of 1812 against the Americans. And you'll find out more as we go. All right. We'll see you there. Here on the corner of Line 3 and Oldbury Road in Oro-Medonte, which is actually a very humbling experience, as this is the northernmost stop in the Underground Railroad. This land was farmed and settled by members of the black community who fought in the War of 1812, where the Crown for the first time decided to award land to members of the black community and the white community equally. This land was purchased by the black community as a burial ground originally, and they built a church on it, and through this church started the northernmost spot in the Underground Railroad. As you can see, this church is not very big. It's not much bigger than a decent sized garden shed by today's standards, but it helped out a lot of people. The freed slaves from the northern states came here, and they were given shelter and they were given aid to start their new life by either the Black Loyalists or the supporters of the movement. I think I've already mentioned this, but I'll mention it again because it's worth mentioning. For the first time in the Crown's history, this was the first time that they awarded land equally in this area to members of the black community as well as members of the white community. This is a really neat part that I'm going to get to in a few moments. This truly, in my opinion, was the start of what we now consider to be multiculturalism. Because if you look around, it's hard to fathom right now that a lot of this land that was here was both farmed, operated, and gave shelter to members of the black community. Freed slaves that came here quite often pledged allegiance to the Crown and were offered the same rights and the same opportunities as the Black Loyalists. So they too could potentially own land and be a part of the community. When the Industrial Revolution came around, a lot of the families around here moved to places that offered more economic advantages, such as larger cities with factories and more places to work. So I'm going to read a couple of plaques here to you now. The first one is this one. Built in 1849, the church is the last vestige of one of the oldest African-Canadian settlements in Upper Canada. Here at Oro, former members of the Loyalist militia from the War of 1812 established the only black community sponsored by the government. Free blacks from the northern United States later joined them. Located in the heart of a strategic and vulnerable region, the community guarded against American invasion via Georgian Bay, this church is a testament to the contribution of the African Canadians to the settlement and defense of Canada in the 19th century. Yeah, the environment here was very harsh back then. And here's another one. Between 1830 and 1850, some 24 families who had fled from slavery in the United States to the freedom in Canada were settled in Oro, mostly on the concession running north of Shanty Bay known as Wilberforce Street. In 1849 they acquired this piece of land for a burial ground and built here this African, I can't say that next name, I'm sorry, church. I just don't have the vocabulary. My tongue doesn't work that way. I never could say that word. So it's really interesting. And here's a marker. This is kind of an interesting marker. These are some of the people that were buried here. So it really helps to understand that there are many more burial grounds that are around here that are unmarked. But all those people really contributed a lot to our country as we see it today. They got a beautiful little sitting area over there where somebody can sit down and relax, and they can really pay homage to this. Okay, and here's another plaque. I'll read it to you. I'm sorry if my reading is kind of weird, but I do my best. Dedicated to the memory of black pioneers who settled this area. The first settlers were soldiers of Captain Runchy's company of colored men, who fought the Americans in the War of 1812. The next wave of settlers were freemen from the northern U.S. They initially settled on Wilberforce Street and worshipped in this church and were buried in this and nearby unmarked cemeteries. It is with the highest esteem we acknowledge the challenge they accepted and the contribution they made to the development of this community and to their unique spirituality. They talk about in this the challenge they accepted, because as I've alluded to before, the climate here can be very harsh, especially in the wintertime. And this is where I wanted to get to about our multiculturalism, what our true meaning of multiculturalism is. In this area, you found that it was found that the black and the white settlers that lived here worked together as a community to keep their community going, because in this harsh environment they had to work together or they would most likely perish. Now, this one's really cool. I hope we can get a clear shot of this one. If it doesn't come in too clear, I'll read it. Okay. This African American Methodist Church Cemetery, a National Historic Site, represents the sacred ground of many unknown graves of veterans of the black militia who fought for the British in the War of 1812. Some buried here were likely veterans granted land in Oro Wilberforce settlement for their families for their military service in the war. Those veterans and other black settlers were buried here and in other unmarked graves throughout Ontario, such as in small cemeteries now lost in time. Also, such burials of blacks would take place on their own homesteads or on roadsides, locations now known only to their marker. All Canadians are indebted to those veterans and other black pioneers who struggled in this area for survival, without roads or government assistance, so as to carve out of the wilderness a harsh and challenging life. It was, however, a life of freedom and racial equality at the time, when black slavery was considered legal and necessary. As of 1819, at the time of the creation of the Wilberforce settlement, the township of Oro represented freedom, land ownership, and full citizenship, a milestone in global racial equality. Rest in peace with dignity and honor. We are proud of you. The Citizens of Canada, 2015. What a great memorial that is for the people that lived here and settled this community. Well, I think that's pretty much it for this Underground Railroad site. I wanted to do this as a first video because I feel that this is very, very important for us as Canadians to remember. that we can work together. We can work together, and we can respect each other, regardless of our background, our color, or our creed. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. All this helps us continue to bring content to you and to your families. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe and have a good week.